Okay, this video is on minor chords or minor triads because we're just going to deal mostly with three-note chords in this one, and a triad is a three-note chord. So to make a major chord minor, it's really quite simple. You just lower the third a half step. So let's just do a couple of these real quick. This is not a difficult thing to do if you are familiar with your key signature. I'm going to go treble clef today. All right, so we got a treble clef sign here. We got our staff. I'm going to first of all just start with C major chord. C major chord is C, E, and G. There's our C major chord. If I want to make that major chord minor, I take the third, the interval of a third, and I lower a half step. Well, in the C major chord, this is the 1, the 3, and the 5. That's how you find a major chord, the 1, the 3, and the 5 of whatever scale you're dealing with. So in C major, it would be C, E, and G. So if I want to make it minor, I just lower the third by a half step. So I would keep it as an E, and I would put a flat sign in front of it. Okay. So let's do a couple of. So if I'm in G major, my major chord would be G, B, and D. There's a G major chord. Because in G major, there's a sharp in the key signature, F sharp, but none of these would be F sharp. So, we don't have an F in the chord, so there's no need to sharp anything. So G, B, and D is your major chord. To make it minor, you just take the third. This is the 1, the 3, and the 5. You would lower the third a half step. Now, why can't I just say lower the middle note? In this case, if the chord is in root position, you could say lower the middle note half step, but your chords are not always going to be in root position. We'll look at that in a little bit. Let's take an F major chord. F, A, and C is an F major chord. So if I want to make it minor, I take the middle note and I lower a half step. Now, let's look at something a little different here. Let's look at a D major chord. D, F, and A. Well, in D major, what do we know about D major? D major has a F sharp in the key signature. D major has F sharp and C sharp. This is one reason it's very important to know your key signatures and your scales. So this is really not a D major chord here. I have to put a sharp in front of this to make that a major chord. That's because the F is supposed to be sharp in D major. So how would I make a D major chord minor? Is I would take the sharp and I would lower it a half step. So to do that, I would do that by drawing a natural sign. Okay, and I'd have to make the middle note down a half step. So I took the F sharp to an F natural. So let's do a couple more of these. Like I said, this is not difficult if you know your key signatures and if you know your scales. So we'll just do treble clef again. And let's go with something with some accents, some sharps or flats already in it. So let's start with, let's start with an E. E, G, and B. Now, what chord is that? Well, you would have to know that E, for it to be a major chord, you'd have to know the G's has to be sharp. Well, how do you know that? Because E major, key signature, is F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp. So that's E major has F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp in it. Well, do we have one of those notes in there? Yes, we have a G. So that G would have to be sharp. So if you play the easiest way really to do this is to play the first 5 notes of the scale, and you can figure out real quick if that is supposed to be major or minor. Or if it's supposed to be sharp or natural. In this case, it's supposed to be sharp, which makes it major. Now, if I have that, that's our E major chord. I put an E there. I put E. If I wanted to make it minor, I would have to lower that. So I would have my E, G, and B, but I would just put a natural sign there. If there was a sharp in front of the same measure, I have to do it. Then that would be a E minor scale. E minor chord. Now you can write E minor several ways. You can draw an E and you can write minor, or you can do E and you can abbreviate minor, N. I have even seen people do E with a lowercase m, and you'll see that sometimes in things, and that can be E minor. Or you can just use a lowercase e, and that would be considered E minor. So those are different ways you write it. When you're looking at guitar charts, or you're looking at pieces in a lot of books that have the guitar symbols above here, usually you see them one of these ways. The bottom two, you either see a E with just an M beside it, or you could see a M-I-N period. You don't normally see minor written out, but you can see a lot of different ways like that. All right, let's try another one here. Let's get rid of that. So what if I have this chord here? If I have a, let's put a E, G, and C. So I want to figure out what that chord is. Well, first of all, I need to recognize that's not in root position. So it's not an E something, it's not an E chord. It's a C, an E, and a G. Well, if I study that and look at it, I realize, oh, that's a C major chord. Well, how do I make a C minor? How do I make a C major chord minor? I lower the third a half step. Well, what's the third in a C major chord? Well, it's an E, okay? Because a C major chord over here in root position looks like this. That's a C major chord, so C, E, and G. Well, here I have C, E, and G. I want to lower my third a half step, so it's actually this note right here. So that's why we can't always say you lower the middle note a half step, because if it's in an inversion, if it's inverted some way, then you you have to know where the inversion is. So, all right, so that's you got to be able to figure out where that third is. All right, so let's say we've got a key signature here in this one. So let's go with we're going to F sharp, a C sharp, a G sharp, a D sharp, and an A sharp. Okay, so we should know that that is the key of B major. So if I'm going to draw a B major chord, I could draw a B, a D, and an F right there. And if I've got this in my key signature already, and I know that I'm in the key of B major, then I don't have to draw any sharps here because they're understood to be there because of the key signature. But what if I want to make that minor? Well, the B I would have to just take the third, which is the D, and I would have to put a natural sign in front of it. And that would be a B minor chord then. If I have you can have let's say we got an F sharp there. Let's just say I draw this right here. E, G, and B. Well, what chord is that? Well, there's only an F sharp in the key signature. That doesn't really apply to either three of those notes. So we had an E, a B, E, a G, and a B. It's in root position, so we know it's E something. Well, we got to think. We know an E major chord has a G sharp in it. This does not have a G sharp. There's no natural sign drawn here because it's not needed, because the G is not sharp by anything here. So that would still be an E minor chord there. Even though there's no natural sign drawn on that or anything, you would play the chord, or you could look at this on the staff and you can realize, oh, well, to be an E major chord, it would have to have a G sharp in it because E major has a G sharp. So that's why it's important to know these key signatures so you can recognize that. You do not have to have a natural sign drawn in front of something. You do not have to have a flat sign drawn in front of something for it to be minor. It may be minor just because of the key that you're in. Same thing with D. I could draw a D, an F, and an A. Well, if it's a D, F, and A, you think, well, that's a D minor. But in this particular situation, we have an F sharp in the key signature, so that F would be sharp. So this would make this a D major chord. So you always have to look at your key signature and know what's in the key signature so you can know how to figure out if the chord is major or minor.